Hello once again, and welcome to your favorite program on television. It is Inside Politics here on Universal TV Africa. On this program, we talk about Nigeria's politics, policies, and development. All we're doing is to have a robust conversation to move forward the advancement of Nigeria. My name is Maduka Ujumad. I'm your regular anchor on this program, and we come to you all the time from the Universal Television, UTV Africa. All right, today we'll be looking at the topic of the significance of political ideology in Nigerian politics. Of course, always one of the harsh criticisms that are levied on the Nigerian political system and the Nigerian political parties is that they lack clear ideologies. Most of the political parties, if not all of them, have manifestos, have mottos, have action plans, have so many things. But when you look at the practice, they really do not have any clear-cut ideologies that drive them. What is an ideology? An ideology is a philosophy, a principle, a guiding light that one lives by and keeps to. If you go to the United States, there's that clear division between the conservatives and the liberals. And if you go to other parts of the world, there are divisions sometimes along ethnic or political lines, but their ideologies go to promote those things they believe in. In Nigeria, what are the ideologies of the political parties? We're going to try to make sense of it today, and helping us to make sense of it is a good friend of the house. His name is Mr. John Okoro. John is a media practitioner here in Abuja, and he's a philosopher and a thinker. John, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Maddox. It is a pleasure to be here.
All right, we're talking about political ideology in Nigeria, the need for political ideology in Nigeria. It's a criticism. Everybody says, what's the philosophy of this party, party A, party B? They're all the same. That's why people crisscross easily and all that. Really, do Nigerian parties lack ideology? Is that a fair criticism, or probably people are being too harsh in those assessments?
I think the assessment is in order, and it didn't just fall out of the sky. It's a function of what we have experienced over the years. And, it's gone around the full circle. So people can, say, with every assuredness and authority that we don't have parties that have political ideologies here in the country. We remember a former Senate president, the late Senator Chuba Okadibo, he once said that what we have in Nigeria aren't political parties, rather we have political rallies. And if you look at the parties, post-independent parties or pre-independent parties, the NCNC of this world, the action groups, the Northern People's Congress, you found out that those parties were founded on certain ideologies, and you could see the results of those ideologies based on the outcome of what these people did. Most of the things we have today across the country, whether you are talking about in Western Nigeria, whether in Northern Nigeria, or even in Southern Nigeria, they came as a result of the ideologies of those parties that were formed before independence and then came on during the independence until the end of the First Republic in 1966. However, with the military interregnum, then came 1978 with the Constituent Assembly and then the formation of parties hurriedly put together. There you had the MPN, the MPP, the GMPP, the UPN, the PRP, and the rest of them. 1979 came, and the elections came, and then we started practicing the Washington model presidential system of government. And it was alien to us. It was alien. And if you look at the way it was then, you have the MPN, you have the MPP, While the NPP, you could say, looked more like what today we can call progressives. You understand? And then the MPN could be likened to, maybe we can just use the word liberal to describe them, as it were, in what they practice. Because if the MPN was a national party, while the MPN held sway in southern, like most in the southeastern part of the country.
The NPP.
The NPP rather. So you could see their ideologies both at the regional level, the state level, and at the national level. Then the coup came again in 1983, and then politics now went back again to wherever it came from. Then we came back again to the to military interregnum. Then came 1999. Now, with when Abacha was trying to mutate from being a military man to a civilian president, he also formed 5 parties.
Yes.
Where Bola Ige described as the five fingers of a leprous hand, whereby 5 parties endorsing a single individual as the sole candidate of the 5 parties. So you can imagine. Then after that, with the death of Abacha, that particular, what I call it, the republic ended. Then came 1999. Then what now happened? As soon as Abdulsalami came to power, he said that he was going to midwife the transition, and he did it. And hurriedly, they formed the parties. Hurriedly, again, they formed the parties. Then they set up a Justice Nikki Toby a kind of committee to bring out or to just usher in a kind of constitution. And before you know it, in 1999, we had elections, and hey, democracy came back. So you could see that historically, we haven't had parties that have, withstood the test of time, like in Britain, like, in the US and the rest of them, where you have, in Britain, you have the Labour, you have the Conservatives, in the US, you have the Republicans, the Democrats, and the others that are not even heard. These parties have been there. They have passed through the crucible of politics. So you could say that when Labour comes to power, this is what they're going to do, because they're already you understand their ideologies. If you go to some other parts of the world, you have the parties that are leaning to the left, some are leaning to the right, some are centrist, some are far right, far left. These people, they are predictable, but here it is not like that. We see parties today as a special purpose vehicles that people could use to come to power. And then when they come to power, whatever they see there, they start doing it. But in terms of that ideology, when this party comes to power, and you can predict that based on the time-tested historical legacies of this party, that this is what they're going to do. But it isn't so. And sadly enough, 25 years into democracy, we seem to have actually gone to nowhere in terms of political party ideology in Nigeria.
Well, some people would say that the point at which Nigeria went off the rail, if Nigeria were a train, it derailed from ideological politics, was during the cross-carpeting episode in the Western region parliament, when members of the NCNC en masse crossed over to the action group and turning the hitherto majority party into a minority. And that brought in, it was probably, and it should be, the very first time Nigeria saw crossing between parties, at least not at an industrial scale as it happened at that time. Was that incident a minus for us, which led to people now thinking of joining political parties for reasons of convenience rather than uniformity of thought and let me use the word ideology?
Well, where people might actually have different views over that very particular historical incident, whereby, like you enumerated, but for me, what I will say is that particular incident actually introduced regional or ethnic-based partisan politics.
Okay.
That is my own point of view. Because even after that, this happened in 1951. This is what happened. After that, even the 10 years before independence, despite the Action Group or the NCNC and the Northern People's Congress, at the different regions where they held sway, you could see the impact. You understand, in terms of when we talk about ideology, we're talking about the practical impact of what those ideologies will bring to bear on the value of life of the citizens. You understand?
But does an ideology or do ideologies really guarantee that there will be, that good governance would happen and political parties will stay focused and deliver? Does an ideology have it? Does it guarantee that?
Yes, it does. It does guarantee that. Unless there are other maybe extraneous factors that might maybe cause a kind of hitch. But like you enumerated in your intro about what these ideologies are. The ideologies are actually the foundation of this party, because the political parties what are they? They are platforms that people could actually use to come to power. Then when you come to power, what are you coming to do in the corridor of power? You're coming to work to serve the people. And serving the people means what? That you have policies that you want to do what? You want to, will I call it, develop the country. You want to move from point A to point B. You want to make sure that you have value added to the lives of the citizens, because that is what is a social contract.
So we can also link this to corruption in Nigerian politics and governance, because if these ideologies are and they're able to keep these people, would you say also it would have helped to stop or at least reduce to a minimal corruption, mismanagement, and misappropriation in politics, in partisan politics, and also in governance?
Yes, to an extent, some extent, because the ideology of a particular political party, we rule that party in terms of what that party does, in terms of bringing what in Nigeria we term the dividends of democracy. However, the ideologies also cannot stand, as maybe a hedge or a wedge between people who want to be corrupt, you understand, and those who do not want to be corrupt, or between the party the party manifesto and those who want to be corrupt. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
Like if you say you have an ideology, if some people within the party still want to be corrupt, they will still
It would not stop them.
Whether you have an ideology or not, it's not going to stop them, because many times corruption is generic, it's inherent. It's about what this individual is thinking about, or this group of persons are thinking about, is what they want to do, their intention. Because even in the First Republic, where we even said that there were some kind of ideologies within the political system, there were still cases of corruption. You remember that when the military came to power in 1960s, one of the first things they talked about was that they talked about corruption that made them to come to power. They said corruption was one of the reasons that made them to take over the civilian government. They talked about what the ministers did then, any kind of contract, they have what they call the 10% kickback. Now I'm talking about First Republic. So you can see corruption is endemic within the human perspective. However, it is the volume. It is the ability to have deterrent. It's the ability of a system to say, no, we cannot condone corruption. But the problem with us is that rather than having a deterrent against corruption, we have approved corruption, accepted corruption as part of the system. That's where we have the issue. There is no system in the world where you're not going to see people who are corrupt. Even in the US, there have been cases within the system, within the government. In the UK too, there have been cases within the system where people who were corrupt were singled out and tried and punished. In fact, in some countries, even in China, where you have the death penalty as the ultimate, that does not, people have been hanged in China. So people will be thinking, okay, because you have the death penalty, it's going to stand as a deterrent. Nobody's going to do anything that will be seen as corruption. But people are still doing these things. So I feel that despite the ideologies, people who want to be corrupt will still be corrupt.
We'll be going for a break now, and when we come back, the conversation will continue here on Universal TV Africa, UTV Africa. We'll be back. Don't touch your dial.
Welcome to Candid Conversations. This is that show that offers unfiltered glimpse into the real stories of some of today's most impactful leaders. In a world that often celebrates the final products of success, Candid Conversations takes you behind the scenes to uncover the personal struggles, doubts, fears, failures that have shaped the leaders we admire today. In each episode, we sit down with people who have made their mark across different industries: media, politics, entertainment, business, entrepreneurship, and beyond. And we have honest, thought-provoking conversations around their personal and professional journeys. The goal of the show is simple. It is to go beyond their accomplishments and accolades and uncover the raw, emotional stories that rarely make the headlines. My name is Blessing Okebe, your host, and this show is coming to you live from Universal TV Africa. Let's get into these conversations.
You're welcome back. It's still Universal TV Africa. We are reaching you with the program Inside Politics, and my name is Madoka Ojimada. I'm not alone. I'm with John Okoro, who's helping us make sense of the issues. Now, John, let us take it that this is a teaching class for the political parties, and you're schooling them. We can't keep forever saying that political parties in Nigeria lack ideologies. What will you be telling the political parties now that this is what they need to do to start developing clear-cut, distinguishing ideologies that can help them have a known pattern, a known stance, and a known way of doing things, and that when Nigerians consider which political parties to support or vote for, they will be able to say, okay, if we support Party A or Party B, they will deliver the ideas behind their philosophy to us. Teach them. Let's know what they should do to start developing ideologies.
Yes, taking a cue from the pre-independent and then the First Republic parties, like we said before, we always use them as reference points. You can see within the Human Development Index spectrum, there are so many things that we can do to develop the society, both human capital development and also infrastructural development. Now, some parties like the Action Group was seen as a welfarist party. It is now concentrated on developing the human capital of the people of the Western region through education, through agriculture, through marketing boards, just making sure that there are quite a lot of values added to the lives of the citizens of the Western region. Same with the Northern People's Congress, where we find out that some of the institutions that we are aware of today in the North were actually built during that era. You know, whether they are universities, whether you're talking about colleges of education and other specialized schools. They also ventured seriously into agriculture, you know, setting up different agricultural settlements, farms, textile industries and everything. If you also go to the NCNC, you remember like someone like Dr. Michael Obara, he set up agricultural settlements across the eastern region that are even still in existence today. You know, so you could identify each of these parties based on what they did. Now today, parties could come and say, okay, we want to be welfarist. We want to focus on human capital development. So if I win this election, if I take over this particular position, either as a president or as a governor, I'm going to make sure that I build more schools. I'm going to make sure that we put serious subsidy on education so that people can actually come to go to school. People can be educated like Awolowo did in the Western region, you know, because the impact, the long-term impact of education, you know, is something you cannot quantify. So you can start from today. So maybe a party will be known for that. Say, oh, if this party comes to power, we are sure that we are going to get more people enrolled into school. We are going to get more people coming out to go to school because they can pay less now because the government is heavily subsidizing education and so on and so forth. Some other party can come and say, we want to focus on infrastructure development, because we know that here in Nigeria, that's one of the biggest bane of development is because we have huge infrastructural deficits. In fact, the difference between us and these developed countries is the infrastructure. It's not about that they are more intelligent than all, because they have the infrastructure. So when we go to places like Dubai, go to places like London, New York, Paris, we are wowed by the kind of things we see. We see the transport system. Oh, it's so modern. Everything is just so great. What's stopping us from doing that? Parties can come and say, this is what we want to specialize on. People know that, okay, if you vote this power, you vote this party into power, all the strong A rows, strong B rows, and all the ancillary rows within the system, that you're not going to have potholes. I don't think it's a big thing to be done. For you to say that, in this country, that we're not going to have roads that you drive and you now have potholes. They can achieve it. People can do it. How long is it going to take to do so? Some could even say, okay, let's focus on the economy. On economy. Today we are battling with the politics of fear, pump price of fear. People could say, who can handle this? What does it take for a country that is reputed to be one of the top 10 net producers of fuel, petroleum products? What does it take for them to even have fuel pump price minimized to the lowest level for the citizens in the country? So they work towards it. Is it to build more refineries? Is it to do what? They will look at it. So every party will be identified with what will become its selling point, and that's what we use. And if you look at some of these countries around the world, you see, like in the UK, over the years, you see the party moving conservatives, Labour, conservatives, Labour. Then you have coalition with Labour, maybe liberal Democrats, and the rest of them. But you find out that if you go around the history, you say, okay, in the last Labour government, this is what they did. It's there. So when Labour wants to come to return to power again, when they're campaigning, just like what happened now, that you have a Keir Starmer as the Prime Minister. People are now looking back. Okay, the last Labour leader was who? What did they do? You understand? Okay, let's vote for Labour because we know the antecedents of Labour. If you vote for them, this is what they're going to do. You could see, so people now have that confidence. But today, you cannot say if you vote for this party in this country, whatever, but nobody knows what the parties do because the parties are the same. That's why you have this issue of cross-carpeting, defection, this and that.
But the one of the issues some people identify as one of the reasons, probably the major reason why Nigerian political parties don't have implementable ideology, because if you look at their constitutions, their manifestos, you would see what look like manifestos. But the take is that the political parties have no control over their members when they get elected. The fact in Nigeria, the political parties more or less bow to those who are within the corridors of power, who are on the seats, probably for obvious reasons. And so if you take a country like South Africa, for instance, the party can ask the president to step aside. We don't want you as president anymore.
In the UK.
In the UK, you could be challenged and pushed away if you're not implementing what the party wants. But in Nigeria, there are no such controls. If you make too much noise, the guy shifts to the next political party. So what can we do within that context to see that probably there are some structural systems in place they might constrain political parties and their members to now be serious about having ideologies? Because in Nigeria, sometimes I think if we're not painted into a corner, we're not cornered into doing something, we just take it for granted.
The simple reason is this: parties in Nigeria currently are not independently funded by the members.
Okay.
They are funded by their elected representatives. For example, you have Party A, and this Party A wins an election and they produce governors, they produce this and that and that. You remember, definitely in that particular state, the governor will now assume the title of the leader of the party. Why so? Because the governor will single-handedly fund that party. And because the governor funds that party, he becomes the de facto leader of that party. And his word is law. As far as that party is concerned. And the party structure from the chairman, the secretaries, the ESCO, the National Working Committee, and so on and so forth, will definitely bow to the commands of the party leader because they are bringing in the money. But if you have a system like it's done elsewhere around the world, where these parties are independently funded, where a political office holder, such as a president or a governor, cannot even see the treasury of a country or a state, talk less of dipping your hand into the treasury to fund a party. You can't do it. If you attempt it, you'll be impeached and you go to jail for it. Yes, because these people, they are very accountable, and probity is the order of the day. But here it is not so. There's no difference between if you in a state you have commissioners of finance, you have the accountant general. There's no difference between the governor and the commissioners of finance. They are just working in tandem because, but ordinarily the governor is not supposed to be concerned about the state's account. It has to be, statutorily, you have accountant general, you have the commissioners who will handle that. Governor is just to direct policies and make sure these policies work. But here, you find out that the governor becomes the chief accounting officer of the state, and he uses whatever he gets out of the state to fund the party. So if he says this person is going to be the chairman of that party, the person becomes the chairman. If the governor says that during the primary elections, I want these delegates to be the ones to vote, that will happen. I want these candidates to win, that will happen. Right. Even as we are speaking now, we have seen it play out over again, where the governor will have an anointed candidate over the party's own candidate.
And sometimes if he doesn't have his way, there's a crisis.
Where you have a party divided in the state, over, we have not taken the control or the structure of the party from the governor, and the governor will say it cannot happen because I must dictate who becomes what here in the state. So it is about funding. It's about funding.
So if the party is existing and thriving without
independently
these
funded
money bags or elected officials dipping hands in
into the state treasury to fund them, then they will not have control over them. You understand? And it has to be wholesome.
Okay.
If you look at it, we take it from the prism of party politics, but it has to be wholesome when you look at the country in general, in terms of accountability, in terms of deterrent and probity.
Okay, let me ask you in closing, if you were to predict or suggest, which political ideologies do you think could emerge in Nigeria that people would follow, and what could be the ingredients there? We've seen the conservatives in the UK who are more like pro-business and traditional. You see the Labour who are pro-workers and more liberal. In the US, that doesn't need too much talking. The Republicans are pro-business and conservative too, and the Democrats are more reform-minded, more inclusive and permissive. What would be the ideologies we should expect to emerge from Nigeria, and what would be the ingredients within?
Yeah, I always campaign that we should embrace, evolve the kind of homegrown politics that will speak to our needs as a people. So any kind of ideology that a party wants to engender now, it must be the ideology that will speak to the needs of the citizens in terms of everything. In terms of everything, you talk about education, you talk about the healthcare, you talk about infrastructure, you talk about so many things, so many things. So every citizen or any citizen is not even concerned about who is in power or which party is in power. All he or she is concerned about is that those things that are agreeable to me, that are my rights as a citizen, let me have them. Let me have them in everything. Social services, social security, everything.
And these are like the basic things. Once those are taken care of, Nigerians are okay. All right. So. Thank you so much, John. It's been very interesting talking with you. I hope we'll do more of this. That's where we round it off today. We've been talking about the need for ideologies in Nigerian political parties. The political parties need to do right by the people, and when they have the ideologies right, things will work. All right, we'll see you again on another episode of Inside Politics here on Universal TV Africa. Don't forget to check out our website. It is utvafrica.com. We'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.